The news has, and always will be, our portal to the rest of the world. It allows us to stay in touch with events happening at home in the United States and across the globe. Unfortunately, this process of bringing us closer to the rest of the world has also served as a centrifugal force. Since the proliferation of the World Wide Web, news corporations have had the power to influence the ideas and opinions of millions of people simply by how they report and interpret what actually happens, quote, on the ground. Each news source dishes out some share of propaganda, whether it is the BBC or ISIS. In other words, all news sources are fighting to make us align with their ideals and opinions, so we should look at information from multiple sources in order to create our own unique 360-degree view of a current event. Let's consider the recent tensions between Russia and the West over Ukraine. This is a great example of how important it is to understand both sides of the story. From the Western side, it is very clear that Russia is essentially the playground bully who needs to be strictly reprimanded. Western media reports that Russia, by annexing Crimea and aiding pro-Russian separatists, is stoking the ashes of the Cold War. On the other hand, Russian media claims that Western nations are the irrational players. RT argues that NATO should have been disbanded long ago when the Cold War ended, and that the West has no right to meddle in Russia's border affairs. There are a plethora of facts and rhetoric to support both sides, but it's generally hard to detect bias from reputable sources like the BBC or CNN. So who is right in all of this mess? Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. However, it is interesting to compare the different points of views. Once one can abandon the notion that one side is inherently right, wrong, good, or bad, and try to focus just on the facts, reading the news becomes a pleasurable and relaxing adventure, like that of Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit. Another educational and historically relevant situation is the situation between China, Japan, Korea, and the United States in the Pacific. Basically, China has been rapidly expanding its naval presence in the South China Sea, Japan and China are in a dispute over a few uninhabited islands, and the United States has heavily ramped up joint military exercises close to China's borders. The reason for the intense rift between China and Japan, not just in reporting, goes back to the 30s and 40s, when China fought a desperate war against Imperial Japan, which committed terrible atrocities against China's civilian population. This problem was aggravated when the United States used Japan as a node to expand its influence in the Pacific. China's state-funded, nationalistic news station CCTV has taken a very clear anti-Western stance in its news articles, which creates a skewed image of the United States and Japan for Chinese youths. Western media, on the other hand, continues to scold China for its unorthodox behavior. The point behind these two examples is that each media source will represent some sort of political or ideological alignment that makes it inherently biased. Lots of reputable sources are Western, privately owned corporations, which has a subtle impact on their reporting. State-controlled news sources show bias generally by glorifying their home countries and by denouncing foreign influences. Thus, for us to become more cosmopolitan and aware of what's really happening around the globe, we should take some time to explore and understand different points of view. We can then come to our own conclusions.